In the name of God, the most benevolent and the most merciful. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In honor of the original, unconditional moment that all conditional moments have arisen from and will return to, in the presence of the system admin beyond this world room. Alone, yet standing. And meeting the presence of the world through your most advanced self. What does it mean to be alone? I am very qualified to give a lecture on this. What does it mean to be alone and yet standing? What does it mean to be? It is clear that being a human being is not about just meeting people in the world. You get to meet a lot of problems. From one angle, it's fascinating because if we knew everything, had done everything, there would be nothing to do. But what do we see in the depths or in the actual human experience? My physical body was not alone. I was not born on like an island alone. My observable physical self was not alone. I was blessed with family, blessed with a few friends. And relatives. But in my inner realms, I didn't even know it was called loneliness. That's how, when I remember my youth, I didn't even know it was not normal to not be expressing your inner realms. Like, I was very shy and introverted. I did not participate in reality in my youth, very young, when I was very young. I saw the others, but I could not see myself there. What I'm going to say to, I guess, my species in all cyberspace There we go. Close the eyes and let the rhythms fly. Human beings have different experiences. There's so many different angles we can look at this life from, and the starting point, the angles of the starting points and the ending points and the midpoints, all of it could be different. You have 8.1 billion human beings with different DNAs occupying different moments in the space-time continuum, all of them experiencing the singular existence in front of their eyes. But behind their eyes, the meaning they give to existence is very personal. And so there is an impersonal dimension to us, and there's a personal dimension to us. The personal dimension to us is not our voice, it is not our name, it is not just our body. It is equivalent to a force moving through it. Okay? In some sense, there is something that it's like if Tony Stark, if you look at Tony Stark in an Iron Man suit, is it Tony Stark or is it the Iron Man suit? Well, it is the Iron Man suit. What we see, but what is in there is Tony Stark. And what is Tony Stark? In the same way, right, if the human body was an Iron Man suit, if all physical reality in the outer realms was an Iron Man suit, what is, in some sense, moving this from itself? Right? What really separates human intelligence or the intelligence of organisms from the intelligence of other things in the environment is that they move themselves. Right? And now the question has been, how have you been moving yourself? And now there's different answers to this. One answer is based on your environment. One answer based on how you've defined yourself. One answer based on forces you don't even understand yet. You understand? But another answer is that we move ourselves. Okay? And what you see, or at least what the human species is dealing with, and yes, I'm talking about the whole human species. What the human species is dealing with is 8.1 billion, again, objects that to themselves are a subject, and that subject owns the object, and how that subject moves behind their eyes before it moves in front of their eyes is being seen as the direct reality. So in other words, if you're sitting, let's say, watching TV, you suddenly get hungry, you're still sitting on the couch, remote control in your hand, watching TV, but suddenly your mind sees a vision. You're sitting on the couch, but your mind can see you opening the fridge door, already having the food out, even seeing the food, even maybe leaping into seeing the food in the microwave, right? So human beings, it is unavoidable. We have access to, even though we're being, it appears that everything's being in one way, but in this dualistic realm, there's a sort of dualistic access, in the sense that we are an unknown experience, we are an experiential force moving in existential form, okay? Or existential forms are moving experience, right? Now, because we have an ability to be aware of the environment, beyond the environment, we can move in the environment in a way that the environment doesn't understand, the limited environment doesn't understand. And in my experience, the challenge is these 8.1 billion human beings they're identifying with layers of subjectivity. From one layer, they're all identifying with the subject of being a member of the human species. This is very important and needs to be prioritized. Unfortunately, it isn't. What's being prioritized is every person's meaning. I want you to imagine that you are artwork, okay? You are artwork, but you are an artwork in the making in which every moment you give meaning to. So it's like the experience of my existence has a value to my moment of awareness. Okay, and if we can communicate experiences, the deeper discussion can be. Like if people want to counter me, that you have to ask in some sense, what is experience? What's beyond experience? What uses language is not limited by language. What uses form is not limited to form. What uses space is not limited to space. And believe it or not, what uses divinity, what is divine, is not limited to just divine. It is clear to me everybody has been guessing. And the reason we have the experience of a human being is because we have a direct connection to existence. That means it's like an alien wondering, yo man, what would experience like a human from a human being look like? Well, guess what? We're all 8.1 billion human beings having that experience. We being human is like having a unique access to existence. Just because you access existence in this way doesn't mean that the way we access something is it. Okay, it doesn't mean the doorway is what's in the room. In the silence of the moment. What is there to say? Existential programs living their life, living out their time here. There's a certain experience of existence that has separated itself and now wants to figure out what everything else is. Oh, how the heavens move beyond what the earth tells us. It's like even if the planet was alive and I asked the planet, do you know where you are? I would get the same answer that a human being would give me. Either we have defined, either we have replaced the mystery of the objects with subjects, or we return to the mystery of the object again. That is it, to return to everything being unknown again, but consciously this time. Because only when something becomes unknown, it can be known again. Only if it is unknown. Most human beings are living in limited known capsules of reality. Subjects are owning humans. Humans think they're a subject. Their experience of existence is unexplainable in the same way that you can't explain what's outside of the box from inside the box. We cannot explain the true nature of existence from our experiential position. And if we cannot, then what is the game? What is the point? What have the mystery traditions been doing? What have all the spiritual people been doing? Do you know what the spirituality for the New Age community is? Do you know what the spirituality of the new spirituality of all spiritual beings is? It is to realize that a shared meaning brought all this forth. We shared what life meant, and we were different angles of life. And as teams, as tribes, as people, do you know, we unite in accordance to the same values, but the values must surpass nationalism. They must be taken to the point of all human beings realizing they are members of the human species first. Then you are whatever definition, idea, personalization you want to have. And we must care for the human experience. That is what we are not seeing on earth. Existence has been prioritized, or existential value has been prioritized over experiential value. Do you know, it's like everybody's surviving in a low quality way. Why? Why in some sense should human civilization uh, be defeated after it has realized it can share meaning? The greatest power that human beings have is to share meaning. Because if they don't share, it's a silent, objective place. It's like there's a reason statues don't have personalities. It's like that movement is required. Now we have moved in some way. The species is, I'm 34 years old. The species is 300,000 years old. The planet is 4.5 billion years old. The cosmos, the whole universe is what, 13.8 billion years old. Even more due to light stretching or something. So ancient systems, and we've been born out of it. I'm starting to realize analysis and understanding are valuable inside a contained moment. It's uncontained. The soul is free. There are souls that think that this is their body. They think their physical body is just them. And then there are souls who know that the moment, the whole world is them. And then there are those who know the whole world is experiencing their moment and what is beyond their moment. To me, advancement has reached the point of noticing the unknown. The moment we've noticed the unknown consciously, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. Unknown beings in an unknown world, all suffering because they have to know it in a certain way. Why can't the unknown be beautiful? Just being unknown. All the known things we are temporary, is it not? And it's weird because we all consider, like, religious people and atheists and theists have something in common. They both believe in a world death. Theists call it the judgment day, the end of days, or the day of days, you know. And from a secular perspective, it's universal entropy. Inevitably, disorder is found in the system that's contained. So we all know that human life is temporary, and the life of the species, it appears it's temporary. From one angle, the only logical explanation is enjoy the experience of life. It's about the joy of it. Holy shit. It's about the joy of it. You know, when they say when you're having fun, time flies by, guess what? If you don't experience time when you're having fun, you're having the same experience of a photon. It's like any time I have to, any moment, I'm asking people what time it is. Before I ask what time it is, I'm moving at the speed of light, yo. It's like I'm timeless, baby. You know, before time comes and makes me gotta do things in these small chunks of moments. Man, I have been present. I think I'm at the edge. I'm at the brink of a new dynasty of metaphysical acknowledgement. Time is living in me. I'm not living in time, yo. Take that in, world. Take that in. Plato, they asked Plato what time it is. And you know what Plato said? He said time is the moving image of eternity. And the guy looked at him and was like, Plato, if you don't have a sundial, just say it, man. Just say it. Just, man, it's like, yo, on Earth, you shouldn't calculate your freedom. You should calculate the ways you're not free. It's like, yo, they told me be original, yo, be yourself. Excuse me, in a simulated place where our language is simulated, everything's simulated. Or being original is equivalent to a spiritual experience. This is why, even, you know, how do I say it? Ultimately, human beings cannot avoid novelty. They're like, yo, man, you used to say you lived 12,500 days on Earth. Now you're saying they were all the same moment for an unknown being? Oh my God, guys. I think I figured out everything. I figured it out. Everybody is one original moment. Everything else is a simulation of this moment. So when simulations look at one another, they're like, yo, man, there's something original about this moment. So, what can Mr. Within say to the world? Go within, yo. What do you find when you go within? You realize that you're an experience. Recently, I spoke to a friend of mine. She brought forth a interesting perspective. It falls into the non-dualist category, but that the self is actually a process. I've been saying that we are verbs, not nouns. But the only thing I say is that the verb is unknown. They've tried to convince an unknown being it's known in a certain way, so it listens and suffers accordingly. And I'm sorry, I've just lived too long to be a known being anymore. Oh man, guys, I'm feeling a bit of a sci-fi vibe. Let me imagine. Let me go into the future and see what it would all be. If human beings think they're physical, but the whole time they're acknowledging themselves as fictional ideas. It's like my subjective self is standing in an experiential dimension, my objective self is standing in an existential dimension, and it's like a dimension is aware of both these dimensions without being defined by any. There's a reason St. Francis of Assisi said to be in the world and not of it, and that it is in dying to self that we are born to eternal life. What does it mean? It means that yourself is the only thing eclipsing you from the joy of it all. You have suffered too long as a subject. That means really, like for me, like it was like, yo, man, I'm like, yo, how come I'm afraid of possession, but I'm possessing all these objects and subjects and all this? And it was hilarious. I realized that if you want to be free, you need to free the world. And if you want to be enslaved, you enslave the world. That means little do they know. The evil people in the world, by making the system evil, you have actually increased the chance of your own descendants getting crushed by the system. Subjective values, guys, when you realize all of it is fiction, if you make the argument that any subject is fiction, you can't ignore the fact that it's all fiction. What that means is I've had so many fictional people, you know, come and tell me that they're non-fictional. I've seen too many subjects tell me that it's only objects, and I laugh because I know that what is telling me everything is an object is not even an object itself. Little did I know when I was a young kid playing with remote control cars, I was actually realizing the non-locality of consciousness. The presence of life is different. There was this video of Richard Feynman, like in this interview, right? The clips online, people can check it. And Richard Feynman, he's a Nobel Prize winner. Feynman diagrams, But anyways, Richard Feynman in that interview, he said I could see him rebelling against beauty, like just being, monopolized by just, you know, deeper ideas and deeper transcendental narratives. And he was saying like he had a friend who saw a flower as beautiful, and he's like, the flower is just beautiful. And he was like, he didn't see the flower as beautiful, but he saw that how the flower was like this complex lattice structure of molecules and atoms and all this energy in it and all the electrons moving. That was beautiful to him, you know. It's like in a world where we have expressions where one man's trash is another man's treasure, or one man's treasure is another man's trash, and we're trying to find world peace in a world where somebody sees something as the same thing as trash and somebody sees it as treasure. Pretty much, to build an advanced civilization, I was at first thinking, what do 8.1 billion objects do? And then I'm like, okay, they're not objects. Every object has a subjective or ownership. So people, they think they're objects, but you're not. You're actually the subjective experience. You're the subjective self is more real to you than the objective self. And you've been conditioned for it to be real. So there is no counter argument. You've all been conditioned to be like I'm making the same argument. If in the future people start, the cyborg era comes in, people start replacing body parts for technology, right? So similarly, right now we are natural beings that have exchanged parts of ourself into subjects, into subjective beings. So right now we're not seeing a natural human organism as it started. We're seeing a sort of subjective, objective entity, a cyborgism there. You know, so human beings are best described as this ancient, outdated, natural biological technology, natural technology that is now living in with unnatural mannerisms, unnatural appearance, and unnatural behaviors in an unnatural system. Therefore, to be human is to be responsible from how we deviated. You know, to me, one thing is very profound in a lot of origin stories. You know, a lot of origin stories around the planet start off with being complete. They were in a better place and they fell here. Or there was a spiritual realm, then there's this place. Like, what the, you know? So, what does this mean? Our ancestors did not see this as a physical place. We've convinced ourselves it's a physical place and hilariously identify with non-physical subjects overlaid upon the physical. Nobody is experiencing physicality. They're experiencing the subjective, the physicality filtered through their subjective meaning. And so, what is greatness in a world of so many different approaches? To meet the system admin. Imagine you're working in a company. Don't you want to meet the owner of the company? How else will you rise up the ranks if you don't acknowledge the owner? Right? How else, imagine, I'm gonna parallel theology, eschatology to a business, guys. You know, and it's gonna be a really good metaphor, even though it's incomplete, but it's gonna be a good metaphor. I want you to imagine, okay, 8.1. There's this company called Life, or called the World Co. And we've all been employed by this company, okay? And we're employees. We start off as employees in the company, okay? Now, in this company, we are employees. I'm going to simplify it. Let's say there's just managers, okay? Not going into the C lounge, but I'm saying like let's just say, okay, that there's managers, there's employees, and then there's the owner or CEO or whatever. CEO that owns it. Usually CEO isn't the biggest shareholder, but anyways, like let's say there's a CEO, okay? There's an owner of the company, okay? Captain to the ship. So we are in this world now. Now that's the metaphor as a company. How it translates to us being on Earth is that there are managers on Earth. I call them moderators. Okay, and so these moderators are not individuals like us. To me, they are created beings, but to us, we don't see them that way. We our access to them is not that way. And our access should not be to the system, to the mods. It should be directly going to the system admin. If you have a problem in the server, go to the admin. Okay, don't go to the mods. Now, the issue is theologically, the mods are equivalent to like an anti human mod, anti human force, anti human soul mod. It's pretty much I'm saying like, yo, man, if you're an employee in a company, you want to go up the ranks, you gotta establish a relationship with the owner of the company. Okay, not the managers. The managers can keep you below the line. Okay, the managers, some managers are good, some managers want the employees to improve and advance, some managers don't. Okay, right? And what we see on Earth is that there's a force, a management, a moderating force that is making it hard for humans. But if human beings contact the owner of the system, God, if you go directly to God and just treat God as original, the original power, everything else is a simulation, everything else is created. The creator cannot be created by definition. It's an unconditional being. So people can see different ways. My body is, I don't know, living a local life on Earth. My mind is living a universal mind, a universal life. And my soul is actually not in a world. My soul is in an interaction with the original moment. It's so funny. It's like truth is not in the room, but truth is in the presence, or sorry, the room is in the presence of truth. I am not God. All of us are not God, but we are present. All conditions are present in God. In the same way, all the ideas I have ever had, have been present in me, in my awareness. So, realizing that souls are the inner realms of God. What is the outer realm of God? We will never know. And that's what makes it fascinating. The fascinating life, the fascinated life is worth living. And whoever you are, be careful. Why? Because where your attention goes, your soul spirals around. Take your attention to the original moment. You don't understand. God means put your attention on the unconditional and watch how the condition administers, organizes. It's as if all of us are unknown beings because we're incomplete and created and simulated. God is the only known being. So if we consider ourselves as known beings, we are really lost. And so, what can Mr. Within do? All I can say, guys, that in 2026, what is the date today? March 23rd, 11:40 p.m. Guys, I was alive in 2026 and I saw, and I'm saying this to beings like maybe beyond my lifetime in the far future, you guys are going to listen to it. Guys, I was here in 2026 and I saw, right, how ideas had possessed my species from realizing that its true presence is of an unknown majesty beyond its will. We're in the presence of greatness, but we're too busy trying to be great. We're in the presence of greatness, we're too busy trying to find it. And after some point, you're like, wait a minute, man, wait a minute. If I look at an artwork and I give it meaning, if I look at myself and I give it meaning, oh my God, greatness is also something I gotta give meaning to. And I'm telling you, you're probably gonna be like, yo, man, it's easier to say you're an unknown being. But I'm telling you, what else? What choice do I have? We can't see the edge of we only see the observable universe. 95% of the physical reality is made of dark energy, dark matter. And people are just tying themselves down to the condition of a location, never wondering if there's fields present. We believe in fields like electromagnetism, you know? Like there's so many different fields. I mean, technically it's four forces, right? Gravitational fields, electromagnetic fields, strong, weak, nuclear, right? But ultimately it's fields, yo. Okay, pretty much how else can we see it? Okay, either it's a field and something's happening in it, or there's something where eventually there has to be a consideration for the space, right? Now, all I'm saying is human beings have been functioning under the premise that they are their body and their body is in a physical place, but the experience of physicalism is not physical, and we don't know what to do with that. We don't know what to say with that. It simply implies, again, that our interpretation of what the world is wrong. It's not, do you understand? That means it's like, imagine you saw the corner of a painting, and imagine like 8.1 billion people saw the corner of a painting and they were like, yo man, that's a great painting, that's a terrible painting, that's a remarkable painting, that's the only true painting, that's the wrong painting. Do you know what I mean? It's a paint, it's like our access is way more limited than our like we how do I say it, our verification of what we have limited our verification of reality is limited because our access to reality is limited. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And you know, as someone who's lived 12,500 around 12,500 days on this planet so far, it's becoming less conditional. Like, this is what they didn't say, right? About getting older. You've seen, it's like you've repeated the moments have looped so much, like the cycles have looped so much, right? That at some point you start noticing more. And The issue is, imagine I come here and I say chess is the only true system, and I come and make the whole world like chess, like all the levels of government, and I'll be like, and at some point we're like, why are we limiting the whole thing to just this one thing? Okay, they did physical experiments in a place where there's optical illusions, and the idea of ourself is a non-tangible visible still visible subject. Okay, it's all strange to me. That means being normal was one of the weirdest things I ever did. All the normal people realizing they're the weird ones, and the weird ones who were being unknown and original to themselves were in some sense the ones being real, keeping it real. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes the people saying, yo, keep it real, are the least real people. It's like Eminem telling you to keep it real. I'm like, buddy, if you only knew it's a simulation. It's like gangster rappers have beef with Mr. Within because he says it's the existence is beyond our limited experience of it. Do you know when Tupac said God can only judge me, he meant that no conscious conditional organism created a form can ever judge him. Like if you really want to know what the soul is, I like it. It's in some sense the awareness that claims that links the subject to the object. That means who are we kidding? They're trying to convince a bunch of unknown verbs and forces of the realm that they're just these specific things. It's like Mr. Within's like, yo, man, stop telling unknown beings in an unknown world that there's specific known conditions of meaning only. To be a materialist is like to close your eyes and say, I don't see anything, even though you do. Because that's the nature of it. The biggest lie we've been told is that we can't see when our eyes are closed. Close your eyes and remember the food you ate yesterday. Remember the past. The whole point of the human being is that it's managing itself in time, because honestly, it's not convinced it's in time. Time is just reference points, but the whole thing is a movement. The whole thing's moving. So this is the bizarre thing. I thought the end of life meant death, but it just means realizing the conditional personalities are present are within an unconditional presence. In other words, I have reached, I guess, levels of philosophy where I think I can see how existence is not even existence. The answer has to be this, guys. Meaning exists to consciousness. Existence exists without meaning. And we're a bunch of beings who want to live meaningful lives. Therefore, the experience of existence is real to us. Now, the question is, if our experience was a type of existence, what is experiencing that? Play around, folks. There's so many ways this world can be seen this whole time. And just like uncharted forests and areas of the planet, unexplored territories, they have made you think that you have to just be limited to a certain subjective rendering of what objectivity means when every person's experience is different. The whole point of it is same arc, same view. You have a bunch of people gather around to build something. You have, in some sense, a bunch of unknown beings gathering around to build a known world, a known life. Not a known world. We don't create the world. The world is commanded by something else. And maybe divinity is realizing that there is nothing wrong with truth, whether it's in its simulated form or not. You are meeting the presence of the world through your most advanced self, or your most advanced self is meeting the true presence of the world. Being a human being is accessing an instance of humanity. It's like being human is like getting a preview of what a species level consciousness would be. A species level consciousness would be responsible for everybody. And so now we've reached the time to advance the nature of man to its true origin. The experience of existence is kind of alone. There's ways I've experienced maintaining this human body and living through this body as this body that no other human being has experienced. And more than we feel pain, I think that the body is important to the soul. And when I say soul, think of it, if you're secular, like I'll simplify it for you. The body is 100% known, mind semi-known, let's say semi-known, semi-unknown, soul unknown. When somebody says soul, they're talking about an unknown life. But they're not talking about when they talk about an unknown life, they're talking about a presence that has noticed that subjects come and go, that this whole time you've been thinking you're a thing. Look again, the cells in your body change every 2 weeks. The thoughts you have shift every day. The only thing keeping you static and the same is a pattern that is not in this dimension. In other words, think of it this way. Every day you're waking up, you're playing a new video game. But the player of the game is the same, has been the same. That means if you ask me in the conscious waking state, whose body is this? I'll be like, this is my body, man. If you ask me in a dream state, whose body is in the dream state, I would say, this is my body, man. Do you understand what I mean? It's like we've identified with different states, and at the same time understand your whole life, you can put an equal sign to a state of consciousness. So is it human beings living in a world, or is it states changing? That's a bit dehumanized, but it could be a deeper truth. Anyways, thank you for listening. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful, and the most advanced, rise, mankind, rise, in the presence of the one and only. You are created by the most advanced original power of the realm. And in some sense, it is a beautiful sight when a conditional entity remembers its unconditional presence, and the fear of life goes away, and then the transcendental joy begins. That transcendental joy is not the joy of desires of a specific ego being met. It is the joy of the whole moment advancing. If you've lived only for yourself, keep doing it and you'll get bored. If you've just lived for others, keep doing it, you'll get bored. But at some point, you'll see the species, the victory of the greatness of the human legacy, and whether it will reach a point where it becomes so conscious of energy that it doesn't die, right? There's this thing, there's this scary thought in, I guess, I don't know, in academia, and in Fermi's paradox, where they're like, where are all the aliens? You're telling me in a 13.4, 13.8 billion year old universe there aren't any aliens? That was like Fermi paid attention to something, right? But the answer was like the idea is kind of, it has a dark side. The dark view on the idea is simply this: that species reach an extinction point. They reach a threshold. They go up a certain point and they can't pass this, and they go extinct, and other species arise and they come up to the same point and they either destroy them. I think it's self-destruction probably, right? Or circumstantial destruction. But I'm telling you, the other approach is we immortalize ourselves by identifying by this energy that even the secular scientific community can acknowledge that cannot be created or destroyed. How long is it going to take for the human species to realize if it's identifying with the human body, you're identifying with energy? And in some sense, it's not so far-fetched to consider energy is alive. And if energy is alive, that's the explanation of the soul, right? But energy then is present in a field, and that field, or let's say the awareness of the whole field to it, may appear as its whole world. But I'm telling you that at least from this place, it, where the unknown is greater. And so, how long will it take for a species to realize, to identify with energy? I actually like it when people say, I like that person's energy, I dislike that person's energy. I like those. I think those people who use those terms are very conscious, actually. But anyways, folks, thank you for listening. And it's okay, a majority of life, it's kind of like a film you're only watching, and there's times where you know, the film becomes exciting, others come in. The Buddha was like, you were born alone, you die alone, and anything you experience in between is a blessing. Be grateful. But to me, it's very hard to connect to a world that doesn't have my eyes. Therefore, we have to, in some sense, when I say we, like everybody needs to adjust to my eyes, no. Beyond our inner realms, we will contact and find the unknown presence of the world. That unknown presence of the world is more liberating. And we're starting to realize, even though we're living at a time where we're identifying with subjects like a tool we use so long now we think we are that tool, the most advanced states of man are not ideological, actually. They're not even analytical. They function through the state of instantaneous knowing. So think of it this way: the more you are an unknown being, the less you're being contained by the realm. Do you know, that means to me, true enlightenment wasn't like, yo, bro, I figured out this thing. No. It's when you stop judging the unknown and you find peace. But there's a glow to the realm. It's too specifically designed. Why is it all here? Why is there Kalam's argument, cosmological arguments or whatnot? How can the first thing, how can creation create itself? Therefore, something uncreated created creation. And human mind, if you're religious, the uncreated is God. If you're not religious, it's a field. What else can you say? Thank you for listening. May God bless mankind.